Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Amanda. This is Echoes Without Origin. It's a recent rebrand from I Am Mind Blind. If you've been with me for a while, you might wonder. About 2 videos back is where I kind of explain where Echoes Without Origin comes from. But too long didn't read. It was basically I just was ready for a refresh, and as I have been unmasking my autism and ADHD, I felt like I'm kind of like a living echo without an origin, because my life up until recently was all masked by being autistic. And as I'm unmasking, I am now living a newly created life based on the choices that I want to have for myself, not predefined by a autistic mask of survival. I also have SDAM, which stands for severely deficient autobiographical memory, which again is like that echoes without origin, because I don't remember my past with the autobiographical memory. And I have aphantasia, which means that I do not visualize or experience any of the senses in my mind. So today I want to tell y'all about this camping trip I went on earlier. Was it this week? Yeah, it was this week. It's been a long week. It was supposed to be Sunday night and Monday night, but we ended up only staying one night. And so I went with, it was me and my 2 kids, and we were meeting up with 3 ladies from my book club, and some of their kids too, and friends. Like one lady brought her kid, and then her kids' friends. So we had 2 campsites right next to each other, and I was really looking forward to it. I love to camp. I have not camped in several years because my husband's not a camper, which is fine. But that means that I usually like to try to find other people to go camping with, partially for safety, but partially just more fun. I know a lot of people like to go camping by themselves and just kind of like sit and contemplate. I probably would be okay with that, but I like to visit around a campfire. So there used to be this family that I knew for many, many years, and they lived up north of me in Seattle, and I lived like 6 hours south in Vancouver, Washington, and we would meet halfway in between once a summer and go camping, and her kids were the same age as my kids, and it was just so fun. But they ended up moving to Amsterdam a couple years ago, and I miss them a lot. But since they moved, I hadn't really found anybody else to go camping with. So when I heard some people from book club were excited to go camping, I was really excited. And this was kind of all put together very quickly. We didn't really plan it. That's why it was like a Sunday night and a Monday night. And the only 2 sites that were available were like a regular campsite and a disability campsite. And one of the ladies from the book club is disabled and has a disability placard. So she and I were going to share a site, because you could have up to, I think, 4 people on that site. And then the other 2 ladies were going to be at the site next to us. So, like I said, I've done a lot of camping over the years. And I'm talking about kind of like state camps. I like to call myself a car camper. We load up our van. I have a permanent camp kitchen where I keep a set of dishes and pots and pans, and it's just really compact, and it stays in my garage all year round. And when it's time to go camping, I just pull it out and go. And I have tents and sleeping bag. I love to do fire camping, so not only do I have my propane stove with pots and pans for that, we have a lot of fire bans, so I don't always get to do fire cooking. But if there is a summer where there's no fire ban, I have a full set of Dutch ovens, cast iron cooking, and so I'll take that. And I have those pie irons. They're like squares that you open, and you can do little squish sandwiches. Oh, so good over the fire. Paninis or s'mores in them or whatever. We were told there was going to be a fire ban, so I didn't pack any of that. When we got there, the fire ban had lifted, so we did have some. We bought some firewood, but I had already planned for propane cooking, so I didn't bring any of my fire camping, my campfire cooking equipment. But basically in my garage I have like one area that's just like, it's set up for all my camp gear, and so when it's time to go camping, it's pretty easy to pull down. But because it's been a couple of years, I wanted to double check, which I'm glad I did, because like some of the flashlights had the batteries that stayed in them, and so they were dead, and so I had to replace all this stuff. But anyway, I digress. So we're what I call car campers, because it's not like we're hiking in. We pull up our car, unload it, set up to camp. Well, and I've done this for many years, several different campsites that are, state where they usually have like flushy toilets, although I'm okay with latrines. Let me know what you call non-flushable toilets, because I found this really interesting. When I grew up in Texas, they were called latrines, and it's like an outhouse with like basically like a can with the toilet seat, and it stinks, and you can see everybody's business, and there's bugs, and it's gross, and they're called latrines. Here in Washington, they tend to call them pit toilets. And then I've heard some other names too that I can't think of right now. And I'm okay with those. I mean, nobody chooses that, but I can do that. I'm not the kind of camper who wants to dig a hole to go to the bathroom. And then they did have showers, but I don't. If I'm only going 2 or 3 nights, I just skip showering. It's like, it's not worth it. I don't know. But the facilities are available. Anyway, so that's the kind of camping I do. Which is, again, another kind of interesting thing, because I also think the definition of camping has changed. And this is all America. Because I know that, like, some other countries don't necessarily camp the same way Americans camp. So if you are watching from a different country, I'm kind of curious, do y'all pitch tents and go camping? What country you're from? I'll show you a picture of my tent. I'm gonna explain. I'm not gonna put it up yet. I'll get there. Hold on. So anyway, where was I going with this story? Because I have never seen a campsite like this. So again, like, I've been to all these different state parks. And so we pull up, and for one thing, the lady, like, she was really proud of her camp. Usually it's run by volunteers that like help check the campers in and stuff, or they get paid, they live at the camp, and they get to stay there for free. And then part of that is like checking in campers. They're called camp hosts. Well, anyway, so this lady, she was very proud of her camp, and it was very pretty campsite. Campgrounds, okay? But for one thing, she was really upset because I paid for the site, even though my friend is the one who had the disability placard, and we did not. We're autistic. Like, I read the instructions. Believe me, I read every single thing that they had on their site, and I did not find this information. And basically, the person with the placard was supposed to pay for the site, and I'm like, well, what if it was like a husband and a wife, and the husband put it on his credit card, and I don't know. But she was like, we're going to make an exception for you. I'm like, okay, good. So I'm like, dude. And then she's like, and there can only be one tent. And we're like, okay. Which was fine, because she was going to actually stay in one of the other ladies' tents on the other site. That was our plan. We were just like trying to make it all work. And so then she's like, well, your tent has to fit on the raised planter bed. And I'm like, the raised planter bed? What does that mean? And I don't know. I'm so confused at this point. I'm like, okay, sure. And then she's like, there's no fire ban. And I'm like, oh, your website said there was. That would have been good to know. I think it was a scam. I think they wanted to sell firewood at camp. And then, what else did she say? There was like some other bizarre rules at this camp. Anyway, I pull up to the campsite. For one thing, I wish there had been more pictures on the website. Like, Washington State needs to get on it with the pictures because this sucked. Anyway, because I probably wouldn't have gone if I had seen the site beforehand. It was empty. Like, in Washington, at these types of campsites, I'm used to being like among trees. And they were out. And then, and like the next site had trees, but my particular site was like bigger. And then there was this giant, what looked like a planter bed. It was like 16 inches off the floor, like a chair height. And for people who are not American watching this, I mean, it was like, I don't know, this high, like a big old step up, and it was pretty big. So I looked at it, I'm like, okay, I think my tent will fit on it. Maybe this is gonna be tight. So we get there, and I was so defeated because it was ugly sight, no trees. The table was like almost right next to the cars, which was kind of weird, and the tent like barely fit. So my kids and I got the tent up. We had to use bungee cords and like basically make the sidewalk, which was just for our site. It wasn't blocking like public use, but like a total tripping hazard. Like, I don't know how anybody would have put a tent up on that spot. It was ridiculous. It was so crazy. And it was the most inaccessible thing that I could ever think of. Like, that's why I wanted to bring this to y'all. I'm like, I'm going to show you this picture now. This is the picture with the planter bed, and then I'll show you another picture with my tent up on it. And the only disability that I could see that possibly would make this accessible is if you were in a wheelchair and you put right up to the platform and then you transferred from your wheelchair to the platform, and then you were able to like crawl or whatever into your tent. But for a blind person, oh my God, trying to get off that 16 inch platform, for me with hypermobile joints, and being plus size, like climbing at there was no steps, there was no ramp, there was nothing. And so like in the middle of the night when I had to get up to go to the bathroom, like I was so scared I was gonna fall out of the tent. It was crazy. I mean, I want to know if anybody's seen any kind of disability campsite like this, and who did they design this accessibility for? Like, were any disabled people involved? Any? Because even most wheelchair users, I think, would struggle with this design. It needed a ramp. No, it needed to not even exist. I get that they were trying to make it level, but they could have done that a different way on the ground. This was so stupid. And then the campsite, to go out the campsite to get to the nearest water spigot was pretty close. It was across the street and like down 1.5-ish campsites, and there was a water spigot for several campsites to share. In order to get to that water spigot, you had to cross over a big, like, you know those little speed bumps that slow you down when you're driving down the road? So a wheelchair would have had to gone over this like big speed bump thing, which technically I think they could have, but it would have been not easy. So to get to the water spigot wasn't very accessible either. So I've been puzzling over this all week. Like, how did they think this was accessible? I don't get it. We ended up only staying one night though, because I had a hysterectomy a couple months ago, and I thought I was feeling good enough, because it's been a while, like 3 months now, and so I thought I was feeling good enough to participate and do something big like this. But I was in so much pain. I need to build up my strength a little bit more because it takes a lot to get up to camp. I just realized I'm filming this with no microphone, so the sound won't be as good as it normally is. I'm so sorry, guys. Totally spaced out on that one. But anyway, so I wanted to share that. Trying to think. The other thing that was interesting is that these ladies from book club, I really enjoy them. They're fun. I love talking to them. I love hanging out with them at book club. But in this different environment at camp, it was weird. Like, I don't know. I just had a hard time connecting with them in the different environment, which I'm pretty sure was like an autism thing. And I think having the 2 campsites instead of like one group campsite, somehow it felt isolating, because like at meal times I was over here by myself prepping and they were over there. And then I'd like bring my food over, but I don't know, it felt like it was hard for me to like integrate into the group. I felt, even though our campsites were like right next to each other, I felt like I was just way over here by myself. I don't know if that was something that I put on myself or it was just the group dynamic. People acting different in different environments, including myself probably, because I was hurting a lot. So I don't know. I was really looking forward to it. I didn't really have as much fun as I'd hoped. We ended up coming home early because I was hurting so bad. But the campgrounds were really pretty. All right, well, until the next, guys, I'll be back soon. Bye.